The woman didn't even look at our boarding passes. She looked at our faces, our clothes, then leaned toward the attendant and said loud enough for half the cabin to hear, "I don't feel safe sitting near them." That was the moment I knew this flight wasn't going to London. It was going somewhere else entirely. My name is Marcus Reed, and the guy sitting next to me was my younger brother Miles. We're not celebrities, not influencers, not loud people. We build things. Quietly. Systems that keep banks running, cities lit, hospitals online. The kind of work nobody notices until it fails. That week, we hadn't slept properly in 4 days. A foreign attack had tried to punch through one of our clients' networks and we'd held the line. Barely. So yeah, we showed up to the airport in hoodies and sneakers, eyes red, brains fried, just trying to get from New York to Zurich for a meeting that could change our company forever. The terminal was one of those ultra-private lounges, all glass and marble and soft jazz that makes you feel like you're supposed to whisper even when you're breathing. Everyone looked expensive. Suits tailored within an inch of their lives, watches that probably had their own security teams. We stuck out, and I knew it the second we walked in. You know that feeling when conversations don't stop, but the energy shifts, like the room inhales and decides what to do with you. We didn't care. We checked in, grabbed water, found our seats in first class 2A and 2B, paid in full, no favors. I pulled out my tablet, Miles opened his laptop, and we went back to work. That's when I noticed her. She sat across the aisle, legs crossed, perfect posture. White blazer, gold jewelry that caught the light every time she moved. Her eyes kept darting toward us then, away, then back again, like she was trying to solve a puzzle she didn't like the answer to. I nudged Miles and whispered, "We've got a live one." He smirked and shook his head. We'd seen this before. 5 minutes later, the attendant came over. Her smile was tight, professional, a little nervous. "Gentlemen," she said, "may I just quickly verify your seats?" I handed over my pass without a word. Everything checked out. She nodded, thanked us, and walked away. That should have been it. Instead, the woman stood up. "I need to speak to someone in charge," she said, not shouting but projecting the way people do when they're used to being obeyed. "This is unacceptable." The attendant hurried back, and I could hear the woman's voice drop into that sharp, controlled tone. "Those 2 men," she said, tilting her head toward us like we were objects, "they don't belong here." I paid too much for this seat to feel uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. Because of us. Sitting quietly. Typing. The attendant tried to explain policy, tried to say everyone had valid tickets, but the woman wasn't interested in policy. She wanted a result, and results to her were usually just a matter of pushing hard enough. A supervisor showed up next, then another. Suddenly, we were being asked questions. Where were we traveling? Purpose of the trip? What company we worked for? Questions no one else was answering. Miles stayed calm, but I could feel that old familiar pressure building in my chest, that mix of anger and exhaustion that comes from realizing success doesn't actually buy immunity. When the supervisor finally said, "We're going to need you to step off the aircraft for further verification," something in me went still. Because I'd been 12 years old once, standing in a bookstore with my hands on the counter while a clerk searched my backpack because I'd been browsing too long. I'd been 26, wearing a suit pitching a contract while a receptionist asked me if I was lost. I'd told myself those days were behind me, that we'd outgrown this. Apparently not. We stepped into the jet bridge. Security joined us. A police officer. The woman stayed in her seat, arms folded, satisfied. I caught her eye once. She looked away. The officer was polite, professional. Checked IDs, scanned passports. Everything clean. No issue. He even apologized quietly, like he knew this was ridiculous but couldn't say it out loud. The captain came down annoyed now, asking why his departure was being delayed. That's when the woman spoke again, louder this time. They were whispering. I heard words like execute and control. "That's not normal. I don't feel safe." Miles laughed under his breath. "She heard us talking about executing a server migration," he muttered. "Guess jargon is scary now." The captain looked at us, really looked at us, then at the officer. "Any threat?" he asked. "No, sir." The woman stood up. "Then I'm not flying. Either they go or I do." Silence. That was the fork in the road. The moment where someone chooses convenience over fairness or vice versa. I watched the supervisor's face, saw the calculation happening. Big customer, frequent flyer, problems versus principles. Before she could answer, I reached into my jacket and pulled out my phone. Miles looked at me. "You sure?" he asked quietly. "Yeah," I said. "I'm tired." I made the call, put it on speaker. "This is Marcus Reed," I said when my assistant answered. "Initiate contingency 9. There was a pause. Then, understood. "That's the acquisition protocol. Do you confirm?" "I confirm." The supervisor frowned. The woman scoffed. "What is this a threat?" she said. I didn't look at her. "No," I said. "It's a decision." Within minutes, things started moving fast. The airline's CEO arrived. Legal teams started calling. Turns out, our firm had been quietly acquiring shares through subsidiaries for months, a long-term investment play. Contingency 9 was the trigger to consolidate control. Not because of bad service, because of documented discrimination. The color drained from the supervisor's face when she realized what was happening. The woman's confidence cracked when the CEO asked her calmly to step aside. By the time boarding resumed, ownership had effectively changed. Policies were being reviewed. People were being reassigned. The woman was informed she would not be flying with this airline again. Ever. She tried to argue, tried to threaten, tried to remind everyone who she was. No one listened. Miles and I took our seats again. Same ones. 2A and 2B. The cabin felt different now. Quieter. Heavier. Like everyone had just witnessed something they couldn't unsee. The flight took off late but smooth. Somewhere over the Atlantic, Miles leaned over and said, "You know this is going to be controversial." I smiled. "Good, it should be. We didn't do it to make a point. We did it because we were done swallowing moments like this. Done being patient. Done hoping the next space would be different." 3 months later, the airline had new training, new oversight, new leadership. Our meeting in Zurich went through. The deal closed. Life moved on. But that woman, she lost more than her seat. She lost the illusion that comfort comes from pushing others out. So here's my question to you. Was that too far, or was it exactly far enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know where you stand, and if you've ever been in a moment where staying quiet felt easier than doing what was right.